Dear Regina Sailing family and friends, and the ones who don't know me, I'm Leon. I'm half Swedish, half German, and I used to be an engineer. Some 15 years ago, I sailed to the Caribbean and back with my family, and this became a nice little book. It's quite popular actually. It's called The Missing Centimeter. I cut out 1 centimeter out of my measurement tape. And but my big surprise was when I came back to my old life, I had changed. The centimeter tape was still the same, but I had changed. So I couldn't go back to my engineering work. What I did is that I turned my passion into a profession. What I now do is, for many years, I've been helping many sailors to get out there at sea. And I have 2 RYA training centers, one in Malta where I live in the winters, and one in Leamington in the UK, in the Solent. And what I do is I help a lot of people, from the ones who have never sailed before, they can take an RYA competent crew course, or the ones who are dreaming about ocean sailing. I help them all the way up to the Yachtmaster and Yachtmaster Ocean. So I used to have a Halbach Rassi 40 with which we sailed to the Caribbean. And then when I wanted to take guests, I needed a bigger boat with a 3rd cabin. So I bought Regina Alaska, quite neglected in Italy. So instead of buying a new Halbach Rassi, which I had done twice before, I bought a second-hand one, a classic one, and had it totally refitted to my desire. And so it fitted as a commercial boat. Today, Halbach Rassis are of course more modern, and this is a very classic boat, and I find it maybe the most beautiful Halbach Rassi one can think of. So that's the boat I'm using. So I'm out sailing 6 months a year. We're having a lot of fun on the boat sailing. I only take 4 guests. The nice thing about the boat and sailing on board is the atmosphere. And the same applies to the training center in Malta, where I teach theory, RYA theory, day skipper, coastal skipper, yachtmaster, and also the Yachtmaster Ocean. Since I am quite fully booked, I'm fully booked years in advance for the sailing legs, and also the theory courses are quite popular. I've been asked so many times if I can't do some video casts and explain some theory behind it. And I've been very reluctant in doing so. The reason is that it's difficult for me to teach when I don't get any feedback from you guys. And so I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, or if you need some more help, and then I can dig into it deeper. And you on the other side, when you are in the classroom, you don't feel so stupid, because there are a lot of students who don't understand it. And I have to go it all over again and again and again, until finally, I hope you have had fun by getting the feeling of understanding how things are all fit together in cruising, in sailing, and navigation, and safety, and seamanship, also very important. For the first time, I will now try to do this in a video cast, and I will start off with Yachtmaster Ocean. Maybe it feels strange to start off with the most difficult and most complex part, but that's what I enjoy the most, because I really want to try to pass on and explain the background, so you really understand what you're doing, instead of just getting a recipe and say you do this and this and this and this when you do celestial navigation. It's difficult to find the balance. On one side, I want to explain it all, what I have understood. On the other hand, you have to get a measurement, a workflow, so you can remember how you do this years after you have learned it. So I have spent a lot of time developing templates. And if you feel that it's difficult to understand, never mind, it is complex. And please feel free to contact me in order to see if I can fit you into one of my theory courses in Malta, where we go through this more in depth, or maybe finding a place on Regina Alaska in one of my either coastal or inshore or offshore ocean sailing courses. So lean back and enjoy my explanations. Stop the video when you think it's complicated, go back. And sometimes you can also jump over the most theory things and then go back to them, and maybe they make more sense after you have done half or 3/4 through the course. So, see you on my keynotes.
Before we dig into celestial navigation, just let's look at some classic navigation and see if it is really necessary these days with internet and GPS. And I claim definitely yes, classic navigation is really important. Just think of this little fact of lightning strike. It can happen everywhere and anywhere, although of course there are some areas which are more prudent to getting a lightning strike than others, and also time of the year. What happens and why can't you rely on GPS if there is a lightning strike? Well, a lightning strike hits you in the top of the mast, goes down the rigging, and then tries to find out its way through to the water. And sometimes it has to jump through the GRP, and it just makes holes like looks like a gun has been shot there against the hull. And what happens there is that these boats even can sink, like this example. It was just refitted by Suzette and Scott Blair. 7 years it took to refit that classic Bristol sailboat, the Juniper, as they called her. And, well, it sunk just after because it was lit by a lightning strike. Can you protect yourself against a lightning strike? Direct hit? Yes, you can. You can prevent the sinking by installing a lightning protection. So here we have a picture of our Habakasi 40, it looks. So the rigging, the mast and the shrouds are all connected to the keel bolt via a little spark distance. The spark distance is important because it prevents galvanic corrosion. Because no electricity, DC current can flow there, and for the lightning strike, it doesn't matter. It just disregards from the spark distance these couple of millimeters and jumps into the keel boat. So that's really good. So you can prevent the sinking by getting a lightning protection installed, and I would really recommend at least to have the mast foot connected to the keel bolt via spark distance. But even if you get hit indirectly, that means that it goes into the neighboring boat in a marina or into the sea nearby. It can have some devastating results. The good news is it will not affect you on deck. If you're standing there, you are quite protected because the lightning will hit the mast top or the water outside a cone, which is a protective cone. So for human beings, it's safe if you just don't touch the mast, of course. But how about the electronics? The electronics and the compass. The electronics will very likely be destroyed, and the compass will have a deviation. And that's why you must have a mean of make a deviation table, knowing the deviation of the compass after having an indirect hit, or a direct hit for that sake. So when on the ocean, it is crucial that you know that your compass is accurate. And in the end of this celestial course, we will look at how to do a deviation by means of using the azimut, which is a byproduct when doing the astro calculations. So that's very practical. It's a huge revival. I mean, the LP is back. So there are so many people who really enjoy using the Sextant, and some of us, the US Navy for instance, they need to use the Sextant again since October 2015. Before that they had 10 years of quiet. They relied on the GPS system run and owned by their colleagues at the Air Force. But since October 2015, yes please, we have celestial navigation again. And also the MCA, the Maritime Coast Guard Agency, and the Royal Yachting Association, the RYA, they say it's required for any ocean sailing. I know there are many people who just disregard from that, and they can sail around the world without any celestial navigational knowledge. But it is a risk. I mean, I wouldn't do it. And I'm not alone in that. I mean, there are 3,500 sextants sold every year. So they are very popular. And hence the courses of the RYA have gotten a revival. I mean, we have 3,000 RYA Yachtmaster Offshores every year who take their exams, and 300 oceans, tendency rising. And the RYA has just changed and updated their whole course material for the RYA Ocean, and that's what we're going to use on this course. So it's fun. It's really fun. So don't leave shore without a sextant, is my advice. Sextant is great to have as a backup. You can have it, you don't need any power, you don't have to use other sources. It's great to verify your electronics, but you should use it regularly and have good templates so you can go back after a year or two and understand how you use it. And that's why I've used a lot of work developing these templates, which you should be able to use them even if you haven't used the sextant for a year or two. And then, of course, not only backup, it's a great tradition. I mean, remember, GPS is new since only 1990, and I'm old enough to remember and started to sail definitely before GPS. And to me, a sextant is like a beautiful mechanical watch. It's something to be proud of, to be owned, something to inherit. So either you have inherited it from your parents or your grandparents. I am unfortunately not in that wonderful situation to have gotten one inherited, but I bought one instead. I bought a new one, but the intention is to pass this on to my children and maybe they to their children. It's a timeless piece of equipment. And to me, it's a feeling of freedom. You can go out sailing in style when you are having a sextant, and I think it's cool, actually. And the revival wave is rolling all over the world. I think it still is a really nice symbol of seamanship. I think it's fun. It's easy to use, and yet it's deep and never-ending. I mean, I've tried to understand more and more about celestial navigation, and on this course, I'm trying to explain the background, and as much as I have understood, but there's still so much to learn. And just to think to find the stars and read the sky, it's really cool to not only name the constellations, but also to find the planets, which ones are planets, which ones are stars, and then being able to use them for navigation and finding your position. It's just beautiful. It's so romantic. I mean, picture yourself on a blue planet and all the stars and planets around you, and you are there on our blue little Earth, somewhere on an ocean, and by just looking up into the sky, you can determine where you are. Isn't that beautiful? So, let's first look at what is a sextant. A sextant is an angle measuring device. Nothing more, nothing less. So it's a very simple thing, and it's smartly done. So you have first the black light here, which goes from the sun to one of the mirrors, which is called the index mirrors. Then it goes down to the horizon mirror, because that lies on the horizon. And then it's reflected back a second time through the telescope to our eye, and you can see the star, or the sun in this case. But at the same time, you can see the horizon. So you see the star and horizon at the same time. And when you can see them at the same time, and you place the sun onto the horizon, then you can measure the angle between the black line and the red line. So that's what you do. You measure the angle. And the sun is further up above the horizon or further down under the horizon, depending on how you move the index arm. So here I found a little nice thing on the internet that you can see that the sun is above the horizon here. And so what you do is that the light comes from the horizon in blue, and then in red, double reflection from the object, meaning the star, and then how the sun is moved down depending on if you move the index arm. Here's some vocabulary. It's maybe good to know because I'm going to refer back to these. This is the sextant. The sextant has an index mirror, number 1, because this is where the light comes from the sky, and then it's being reflected on the horizon mirror or horizon glass, number 3, and then it's reflected into the telescope, number 4, to the eye to the right. So you don't destroy your eyes by looking into the sun. You have some shades, number 2, index shades. You can place 1, 2, 3, depending on which ones and how many you need. It's nothing else but sunglasses. And this is to protect your eyes, and very important to have as many as you need in front of your eye. I mean, that's the reason why the pirates in the olden days only had a had one eye because one was always covered, it was broken, it was blind, because they looked into the sun all the time to determine their position. So then what you have some horizon shades as well, number 5, which you can fold up in case the horizon is too light, or if you look at the sun through the horizon glass. So use these horizon shades as well. Most of the cases you don't need many or not at all, depending on how much the horizon is glittering due to the fact that the sun is reflected on the sea. Very important are then the arm here, the index arm, number 6. That's the one which you move forward and backward, and you press the clamp, number 9, so you can freely move the arm forward and backwards. And then when you're approximately right, you let go of the clamp, number 9, and then it is stuck to the scale, number 7. And then what you do is you turn the micrometer on the number 8. So if you turn the micrometer 1 turn, then you have moved the index arm 1 degree. So the micrometer, number 8, is divided into 60 minutes, so you can very exactly read off the full degrees on the scale, number 7, and then the minutes between 0 and 60 on the micrometer, number 8. We're going to play around with the sextant on, especially when we go out sailing together on Regina, Alaska, on an ocean training course, or also on the theory courses we will have a sextant to have a look at. So let me just theoretically, because this is a bit theoretic to look at slides, but let me show you anyway how you can shoot the stars or any celestial object like the sun. There are 2 ways. One way is put the sextant at 0 degrees, and then set the index and horizon shade so you don't destroy your eye, and then you look at the object. So you look at the star with both rays, both through the horizon glass and reflected twice via the index mirror. And so you see it through the sextant set at 0 degrees. And then you hold the index arm and tilt the handle downwards and move the sun down to the horizon until you see the horizon. So hopefully your shades, the horizon shades, is not too black, because then you don't see the horizon. That is a bit difficult to do. It's good to do if you have unknown stars, and even easier then you can hold the sextant upside down, which is a trick. I'll show that in our practical sessions. But this is one way of doing it. It's not my favorite. My favorite is much easier. When you have done this a little bit, you can easily estimate the object, how high it is above the horizon, what the angle is that you should see the star on. I mean, plus minus 10 degrees. So that's you estimate how high the sun is up by looking into the sky. Don't look into the sun, of course, without any shades. And you HO here, that is the observed altitude. We will come back to the HO many times. Then you set the index shades only, and not the horizon shades. Maybe one horizon shade if it's really on a bright day. And then you look on the horizon. And if you're really good, if your estimate was perfect, you should see the sun and the horizon already there into the direction where all the glitter is on the sea. So the direction where the sun is, which is, by the way, called azimuth, we come back to that, the direction to the sun towards the horizon, and look through there, you might even see the sun. If not, then you just press the clamp and you move the index arm a little bit forward and backwards, and the sun should bump up and down into that direction. If you're not really sure where it is, you can move a little bit to the right and look a little bit to the left. Somewhere there the sun should be. That's my favorite way of shooting the sun. So the split view is that you see the horizon on one half and the object in the other half of the horizon mirror. And that why that? Because it's only a mirror on half the view, and the other half you just look through towards the horizon. And then we will see what happens here when we then open the clamp and move up and look into the star. There it comes, the sun from the sky. And what you do then you tilt the sextant to and fro, so it gives this pendulum movement, so you are sure that you get the sun in as vertically as possible.